Hello, this is an instructional video for the assignment called Preparing to Write Information Essays. It's a writing assignment for week 4 of distance learning starting on April 6th. So first of all, go ahead and when you view the assignment, you will look up the student document here, which is preparing to write information essays. And you'll notice here at the top in red, there's an important message. This message is for people who maybe open this document before they open the video that I'm doing right now, because this is a guided lesson through video instructions that I'm giving in this video. If you're watching this video, you can ignore this message and just move on to putting in your name and the period and the date, and you're going to type in the objective. Remember, at any time during this video, you can pause, you can rewind and go back and re-listen, or pause it if you need to pause to write something down. For example, right now I'd like you to write down the objective, so you might want to pause this video if the objective gets moved past and you can't read it. And anyway, our objective for this lesson is that you will become an expert on your issue. Now, in the last assignment, you had to choose a topic or an issue that you wanted to study in depth, and you did some research and you started making categories about your issue, and categories such as maybe what are the problems associated with your issue and what are some of the solutions, maybe what is some history of your issue, and then problems and solutions. And so now what you're doing is you're going to go even deeper on researching your issue. You're going to become an expert, and you're going to do that by doing some research and gathering information and taking notes on that information you're learning. So again, you're writing down the objective. I can become an expert on my issue by connecting the significant details with the overall big picture. So this big picture is, what is the big idea about your issue? What is it you're trying to say? Now, you're trying to gather up information to get at the truth of what's going on, but you might have sort of an idea about this issue. For example, let's say your issue was global warming or climate change, and maybe you feel climate change is a serious problem we need to address. So that would be your big picture. Climate change is a problem, and we need to do something in order to stop it so the world can survive. So again, this is like a big picture idea. If you're, let's say you were doing one on, well, for the example that I'm going to talk about today is homework. Is there too much, too little, or just the right amount? So you might have an opinion about that, a big idea, and maybe your big idea is that there's too much homework, and then you give reasons why. Or maybe your big idea is there's not enough homework. And so the big idea is sort of, what is your claim or thoughts about this issue? So we're going to do a little practice here on the issue of homework. So I want you to take a look at this brainstorming question and write down a few notes about it. So I'd like you to think about the issue of homework, and this is an example of what you could do with your issue. Is there too much, not enough, or is it just right? What are the benefits of homework? What are the problems? After answering these questions, I want you to take a stand on the issue, like a big picture idea, taking a stand, and decide on what that is for you. So go ahead and take some time now and take some notes on this issue and sort of come up with what is your big picture idea about homework. When you're done writing down your notes and figuring out what is the big picture idea you have about homework, come back to this video. Now that you've had some time to think about homework and what are the problems and the benefits, and maybe come up with a big idea about homework, let me show you what I have here. So my big idea, or my position, is that there's too much homework. And so a few ideas I had about that were, it's stressful for families. It limits time for extracurricular activities. Like I would say, instead of no time, maybe say it limits time for extracurricular activities. And I also think that homework isn't assigned properly by a lot of teachers. Homework should be something that you're practicing, that you know how to do. on your own, and I think too often homework is just sort of busy work or it's not relevant. So anyway, my big idea or my position is there's too much homework. And then a couple of categories under that is that it's stressful for families. So I could give a lot of evidence and details showing how it's stressful for families, tell stories from my personal life. It limits time for extracurricular activities. I could talk about learning is not just in school and for homework. You can go and do other things like go to museums, go out in nature, and you can learn from those experiences. And then I could give a lot of information and write a lot about how homework is not properly assigned by teachers and ways that it should be properly assigned. So by coming up with this big picture idea or your position, you can organize your categories and your information to kind of help support your idea. So again, this is just an example of what I want you to do with your issue. So if you scroll down, what I want you to do now is I want you to go out and do some power learning. Now remember, power learning is just a term we use, and all it means is you're going out and doing research on an issue and you're taking notes. So go out like you were before in the internet, and you can use any website you can find information from and do some research on your topic. Do some more research and start thinking about what is your big idea that you have about your issue or your position. And when you have that position, you can start looking for more information to support your idea. Don't forget, you have access to some great information. I think it's all the way down here in class resources. Let me check here at the very bottom. Okay, so down here at the very bottom of classwork, we have the class resources section. And in this section, near the bottom, you might have to click the button that says View More on the bottom of class resources, but you have the research databases. And remember, you have the Encyclopedia Britannica and the Gale Research. These are databases that have good information and reliable information. So you have the username and password information here on the section. You can click on these links to log in there, so you'll find a lot of good information there. So don't forget, while you are doing your research, you want to cite your sources and keep track of where you're getting your information, because later on you're going to have to put that in your essay and in your website you're going to make about this. So if this is actually a link, so if you click on that, you'll see the link right here, and you can open that up and you'll see this information. And remember, we did this before with our argument essays, and this tells you how to cite your sources and gives you some examples. That there's a link to that document that's also here in preparing informational essays right here. So as you're researching your issue and coming up with your big picture idea, I want you to write, what is your position or your big idea about your issue here? Remember, for homework, I came up with there's too much homework. Okay, so you want to come up with, what do you think about your issue? It's a problem, it's not a problem, something needs to be done. Whatever your sort of big idea about your topic is, write it here. And then as you're doing research, you want to come up with your key points. So I have a section here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different key points. You don't have to have 5. I would say you want to have 3 would be good. 4 is better. 5 is even better. But if you have at least 3, I think you're on track there. And the key points are big ideas that sort of support your position. So the same way that I had 3 key points here that supported that there's too much homework, that my position, I had these 3 key points. I'd like you to do the same thing for your position that you have about your issue. So again, write your position here, your big idea about your issue, and then you write your key points here. And then underneath each key point, you should have some supporting evidence and reasoning for each key point. And I have 4 for each one here. If you have 3 for each one, that would be good. 2 is okay, but I think 3 or more would be better. And then so you're going to fill out this sort of outline, which is going to help you later to write your information essay, because again, this assignment is called Preparing to Write Information Essays. So this position or big idea and your key points with your supporting details, that is going to help you write your information essay that we're going to do later on in this unit. So after you've done some power learning, doing some research and taking notes, you've come up with your position or big idea, your key points and supporting details. You're almost done with this assignment. There's only one other thing I want you to do. And if you scroll down, you'll see there is a mentor text here. I want you to go ahead and read this mentor text. And this is a text that a writer is talking about writing. And so it will help you think about your own writing by reading this text. And so when you're done, I want you to write down some things that you learned from the mentor text underneath here. And so I have one here. I'll just share with you, because in the writing she talks about not smashing all your details together. She says don't write messy like a trash compactor. But that is just one idea from the text. And what I'd like you to do is stop this video now and go back to the mentor text and read it and think about, what does this mentor text say about writing, and what can I take from this text and what can I learn from it to add it into my own writing to make my writing better. And then all of the things you learned from the mentor text, I want you to take some notes down here, add them on here to this one. And then when you're all done with that, I'll have you pause the video now, read the mentor text and take some notes. And when you're all done, I'll go over some additional things that I think you should take from the mentor text, and then you can add those into your list if you like. So go ahead now and read the mentor text. And as you're reading it, take notes on what you're learning about writing from the mentor text and how you can improve your writing by doing some of the things it says to do. Then when you're all done with that, come back and I'll share some more information with you. Now that you've finished reading the mentor text and taking some notes on it, I'd like you to scroll down and go over some of these ideas that I think that are valuable lessons from the text, and read through them and see if there's anything that you think is important that you didn't have in your own notes that you might want to try. Now again, you don't have to have everything exactly the way I have it, but there's some good ideas here. So we talked about the first one, not smashing all your details together. Take your time and explain things is what that basically means. And the second point is kind of similar, write with details. It kind of slows down the writing, opens it up, and has a greater impact. So write with a lot of details. And these are things we've learned before in other previous writing lessons in the other writing genres. Again, another point about writing with detail makes all the difference. So again, we're getting the same 3 points here that are basically saying the same thing in different ways. Write with more detail. The next point is the same. When you write with more detail, it also shows how much you know about the topic. So again, writing with detail. And the last point here that came out that was important, I think, is that even though this person was a professional writer, she can still learn from other writers. So it's important that we remember that we can always learn from other people. Even if we're better than them at the thing that they're teaching us, we can still learn from other people. I learn from my kids and my students all the time. And it's important to remember that we don't know everything, that we can learn from anyone. Okay, so once you finish this section, and you won't be here unless you've already finished this outline here as well, you're done with the assignment. You can go ahead and turn it in Google Classroom, and this assignment is due this Friday at 3 o'clock, so you have the whole week to work on it. Remember, if you have any questions, you can send me a message in Google Classroom from this assignment, and I can respond to that and help you with your question. Or you can also send me a message in the Remind app, and I'll get back to you there as well. Anyway, have a great day.